Lindsey Graham assassinated by the deep state? I believe so. And we're seeing Iran getting hammered right now because they attacked the U.S. base. They attack, shipping in the Hormuz Strait, and, we slam them back pretty hard. We have been for the last couple of days. But they came in and really hammered U.S. base, and now all bets are off, and we're just hammering the crap out of Iran right now. So a lot of this stuff is happening. We're going to discuss it. So first of all, I'd like to thank all of you that came in and very generously donated to Craig Lund, Silicon Satan author. We did a show yesterday, and you guys really came out, and he before he came on Sean Atwood's show a little while ago, he was almost halfway to his goal of taking money. It's the first time he's ever taken money in his life, but he needed it. He also told me that his book sales increased massively and propelled him up the numbers in the Amazon ranking. So good job, everybody. Thank you. You went on Sean Atwood's show, kind of talked about his experience, in the jail and so forth is kind of where they focused. Love Sean Atwood. He has a great show, has a great podcast. He's had Sean on, he's had Craig on many times, and big view shows. He's got well over 1 million subscribers, but it barely moved the numbers as far as people giving. Hopefully that'll change. Maybe later it will change over the next few days or so forth, as far as Sean Atwood's viewers coming in and seeing that and being inspired to donate. But we know Sean is in the UK, and the UK is basically a communist country, so they don't have a lot of money. So unless you're the deep state, of course, that's where the deep state is basically founded and actually mainly located in the city of London. They have a lot of money, but they're not going to give Sean Atwood to Craig Lund, because Craig Lund is exposing them. All right. So again, thank you guys. He thanks you. He told me to thank you, and very generous. We have a fraction of the people that Sean Atwood has, but we gave a lot, right? So congratulations, because we are still a merit-based country, and we earn our money, and we give our money where we feel that it deservedly needs to go. Right? So, and that's what we did with Craig Lund. So fantastic. All right, so let's talk about the crazy boy, Lindsey Graham. So I'm from South Carolina, grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, where he went to the University of Columbia, South Carolina, the Gamecocks, fighting Gamecocks. Got a degree there. I almost went to the Gamecocks, and they wanted me to play. They wanted me to be a running back there, but I was like, no. I'm not so into school because you guys are dumbing us down. I would go into classes and I would teach a teacher sometimes. So, I'm super book smart. I'm super intelligent. But I feel that the educational system dumbs us down. And I was like, nope, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL as a little boy. And so that's where I went. So that was great that I did that. I'm very happy about that. And, had great experience. Yeah, I wanted to do the football thing, but the real calling was being a Navy SEAL. So like I said, I'm happy about that. The other calling was to be in the CIA, be like a James Bond guy, and I experienced that on a very fast, incredible level as well. So 35 years in the SEAL teams in the CIA, and now I'm out. And I'm sharing information that's helping people, understand what's really out there. The real enemy is within, like we've talked about quite some time. And the other dream that I had, the third dream that I had, was to build a big business that would help people, and that's what I'm doing with LifeWave. So get that water machine. So X39, Synergize in the water machine. You're going to outlive everybody else, and you're going to be healthy doing it. All right. So great stuff that we have right now as far as like, information. Early this morning, my brother Nino called me, or called my wife, because she handles my, shows. And so he said, hey, would Mike like to come on and talk about Lindsey Graham? And I was like, what? It's like, I didn't even know he was gone. So I looked it up, and sure enough, Lindsey Graham was gone. I was like, yeah. I was surprised he got reelected, to tell you the truth. I'm kind of shocked the people of South Carolina voted him in again. Maybe they didn't. Maybe he got selected. But regardless, he voted almost straight across the board with President Trump. President Trump was in, he was on. But, he had a buddy, John McCain. And John McCain was a warmonger, and he took Lindsey under his wing. Lindsey, was a JAG officer, Judge Advocate General Force guy in his career for 33 years. So 4 years active duty, and then the rest of it was National Guard and so forth. But, served his country, helped a lot of people out. So, I salute him for that. He was not openly, like the same gender. We'll call it that. I don't care what you do in your bedroom, quite frankly, but he liked boys, right? A lot. And the people that are in the community there in Washington, D.C. that, called him out on it. All right. So it's like, Lindsey, you're like one of us, but you're like, you like the boys a little too much. Right. So, he went to Ukraine quite often. And that's where a lot of trafficking happens. So he probably, because I've seen these people when I worked in the for the State Department for protecting Ambassador Bremer, and then for the CIA, basically protecting case officers and sometimes dignitaries, depending on what was going on in different countries, in Pakistan and Iraq and Afghanistan, other countries. Dignitaries would come in, and because I'm a security guy, very high level security guy, they would ask us to come in and help out. So we did that often. But you get to see what goes on behind the scenes, guys. Not good, right? I've talked about this. These people are, not all of them, of course, but a lot of them are quite evil of the things that they like to do behind the scenes. And so anyway, Lindsey, probably every time he went to Ukraine, he got to play, right? And they know that Lindsey liked to play with the children, right? I saw that was the thing that Hillary did as well, right? And when she came to Pakistan, I was like, they wanted me to roll around and protect her with because I'm a machine gun guy. All right, so they're like, we need your weapon to protect Hillary. I was like, I was kind of half joking, kind of half serious, that maybe I would turn that on her, and so they're like, okay, you're not going to be on the detail. So one of the people that was on the watch that watched the little hooch that she was staying in, it was basically the person that was in charge there of the State Department allowed her, because she's the head of the State Department, have his residence. It was a nice little residence. And one of the guys that, because everybody was like, they were shocked that I would say that, because, and it's probably a good thing that a guy of my caliber said it, because anybody else, they'd probably be out. But anyway, the guy that was in charge of watching her residence overnight said that little children came in and they didn't leave. Right. So we know these people do this kind of stuff. And he came to me later, says, I didn't believe what we were talking about. But I saw it for myself. And he never worked for the CIA, us security guys ever again. Right. That was his last I think it was like he'd only been doing it a few times, and that was just like he was about 3 or 4 times he'd been over, and that was the last one. So you see something like that, it's just tough. It's real tough, guys. So to continue, but eventually, you know, they hammered me. He hammered me for I think one reason that was because of the UFO stuff, which is now starting to come out. So that's really good. And you're like, why would a security guy get hammered because I made a comment on a guy that was talking about how he was like in Area 51, and I was like, that guy was legit. They're like they were trying to destroy him. They didn't like that, so they destroyed me. So that's the way these guys are. So reason I tell you that is because the deep state, you work for the deep state like Lindsey Graham did, and you're expendable. You're expendable. And that's what happened with Lindsey Graham. So we're going to go a little bit into that. Now, today, early in the morning, like I was talking about, I did a show with Nino. Let me show you, you know, how deep this rabbit hole goes as far as like, you know, some of the things that they do. And they've already got Cory Booker came out early this morning. He's already commenting about Lindsey. And so I have it. This is the show I did this morning with my brother Nino. And this is what I shared with him. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Cory Booker came out right away and made this statement. I want you to listen to this.
I am stunned at Lindsey Graham's death, but I pray that he is reunited with his friend, John McCain.
His friend, John McCain. He prays that he's reunited with his friend, John McCain. Yeah. All right. John McCain, whose coffin was covered with a wrinkled flag. Watch what happens with Lindsey. Is he going to get a wrinkly flag on his coffin? I would say probably. But now that all of us are aware of that, who knows? I doubt they'll put a good flag on his coffin, guys, because he's a traitor, and traitors get wrinkled flags, just like John McCain did. John McCain and Lindsey, both, who used to go and to Ukraine, and were part of the reason why Ukraine is fighting Russia now, right? Ukraine, that you know, for hundreds of years was part of Russia, and now Russia's having to fight for its existence against NATO, that is using Ukraine as a proxy in the fight against Russia, right? So when I was in the CIA, we'd always have these morons that were you know, trained in the Russian way of you know, surveillance and counter surveillance and all that kind of stuff. They would come to the Middle East where we had learned how to deal with terrorists and how to basically stay invisible to a great extent. And if we were potentially compromised, we would jiggy and you know, clear our tail, clear our rear view, as we called it, rear view mirror, and make sure, you know, there's great ways to do that in the Middle East. It's real easy because the traffic there is like very hectic, very crazy. You can, you know, zig and zag through the traffic real quick. I knew how to do that. And I take turns, zig through the traffic, and whoever's trying to tell us is gone. Now, these morons from Russia, the Russia CIA guys, which is still happening, because I see people that are, you know, talking about the strikes that are going on in Iran or that are going on in Ukraine. And I'm like, you're a CIA puppet boy trying to put out good information. You have a lot of information. How do you get all this information, right? And you're always slamming Russia. You're a CIA boy. All right. So the bad CIA guys, there is a good side out there, but they're compromised quite often too. I would see compromised people in our program. So they're everywhere. The deep state is everywhere. All right. So you have to learn to see them, how to work around them, how to try and isolate them so they don't like infect what you're trying to do, which oftentimes they try to do. So we'd have these stupid Russia people come over, and they would like cruise around, like, you know, if they get a tail or a follow in Russia, they just do what they naturally do. And the Russians will be like, okay, they're not doing anything suspicious, so we can lay off. But that's not something you do in the Middle East. In the Middle East, you get your butt blown up, right? So these idiots that would come from the Russia group, Russia trained, they would do that. They get compromised, and then they would come in and compromise us. And so we would have safe houses that I helped, you know, set up and all that kind of stuff. And then we'd have the ISI, which is the CIA equivalent, that was basically in bed with, as we know now, with the Taliban and so forth. That's how we got rid of Osama bin Laden. The ISI had been hiding him out, and then we figured out where he was, and now he's history, right? So these morons from the Russia group. So if you see somebody supporting Ukraine, they're like Lindsey Graham. They're deep state puppet boys, right? And puppet boys can be taken out very easily because they have a lot of people that are in their system, right? Just like they took out JFK, right? So I was watching, it's funny because I was watching 7 Days in May, which was a movie that was put out, this off a book that was written in 1962 that was talking about a coup that happened to the presidency, that the Joint Chiefs did not agree with the president, and so they did a coup on him. Well, JFK read that book and said that should be put into a movie. Unfortunately, it didn't air until a couple of months. So JFK was killed in November, and he was killed in November. I don't know the exact date, but he was killed in November. And then this movie, which was in production, had been JFK had left the White House on a vacation and allowed them to come in and film at the White House for this movie. It had Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster, and it had the top guys. And so, JFK was killed under this almost the exact same circumstances that happened in the book, right? And there was also a movie that was produced by the same guy like a year or two before, Manchurian Candidate. So they couldn't find a Manchurian Candidate in the time frame they needed to take out JFK. So they did it themselves. Right? They got the, we've had James Files on that talks about he's a shooter behind a picket fence and all this. These are very dangerous, very criminal people, guys, right? And they have incredible assets. They control parts of the military, like the, Joint Chiefs of Staff, that's the top. And remember when President Trump came out and said, he had all the generals and all the admirals. He's like, I was 45, 46, and 47. You don't like that? There's a door. So he's in their face like JFK was. And so they took JFK out. So I'm watching this. I'm like, this might be they might be trying to do this to President Trump. Because remember, President Trump just recently said, they may take me out. They? Who's they? They being the deep state, the city of London, little puppet masters, right? So, and you have people that are calling that out, and that's one of the things that's tough for a lot of us because they don't like that. They try to control information, and that movie was just, maybe if it had come out earlier, maybe it would have had an influence, and maybe people would have been more aware. But I think a lot of people, my parents, they said absolutely JFK was assassinated, and Lyndon Johnson was in on it. My parents said that. They told me that when I was a kid, and everybody knew. Everybody in that time frame knew that our president had been assassinated by hidden figures, right? So is that going to happen again to our president? You know, they've already tried that, obviously. I think they captured that operation and killed the people that were going to do the assassination attempt and threw them up on the roof all bloody. And, and then they faked the assassination. I think they did the same thing with Charlie Kirk, right? Other people have different opinions. That's fine. Those are my opinions. And you know that I'm well informed and have a lot of insight. All right. So, there were a ton of shooters, Tara, very good, that day in November 1963. I was 7 years old when Kennedy was killed. Which Kennedy, Becky? Really? I was like, I think 3 or 4. So I'm assuming you're talking JFK. So you probably have a good memory of it. With me, all the grown-ups kept me from the TV, and I could see them whispering about stuff, and I didn't know what was going on. I'm a little kid, 3 years old. But I like John. I remember seeing the funeral, and John saluted, right? And of course, the deep state took him out too, so that Hillary Clinton could take his spot as a senator in New York, because he was going to run for senator in New York. And they were like, nope, we're going to take him out. And of course, they didn't take him out. Again, they knew what they were going to do, so they faked his death, right? So, there's been a lot of people that told me that he's still around. So he's in the background, and he needs to stay that way for a while until we fix this deep state problem, right? So deep state took out Lindsey. Now, of course, they control these guys. They have dirt on them. Of course, Lindsey, like little boys, like I talked about. There was a scene kind of recently where he was in Disney World, and he's busted lying about a trip to Disney World. So obviously we have pictures, but there was also video of him walking around with this. I think that's what is that? Little Mermaid bubble wand, right? So he's looking for kids, right? If we could see the video, which you're not, I mean, maybe you can find that video, but I've looked for that video. I know it was out initially, and then it was gone, right? Because the deep state controls this stuff, guys. And so he was intoxicated. What it was he was intoxicated with, I don't know. But they have these pictures, and they have this video, or they had this video for public viewing. If Lindsey didn't stay in line, or if Lindsey didn't do what they wanted. So I guess they posted these pictures as a threat to him that they could reveal, right? So again, he's a puppet boy for the deep state. Now, I think the reason why they took him out was because he wasn't doing what they wanted, right? And or he was a threat for revealing what they were doing. So those are only two things that they take these people out for. If they're doing what they want, if they're puppeting them, all right, we're all good. But if they're not doing what they want, because I think he was starting to lean towards President Trump a little bit, trying to, I don't know, maybe work both sides of the fence a little bit. He says, no, I need to do this. And so I stay relevant with President Trump. And, maybe he got off their program, or their perceived program, like JFK, right? So, and we know Mitch McConnell. Obviously, he got off track too, so he kept falling down and getting and having problems, and he was glitching, and people would come up and like touch him, and he would glitch, he'd freeze, and then somebody else would lead him away, and they control these people, right? So Glitch Mitch basically had I don't know if she was his handler, or if she was just there. Okay, we're going to give you China girl, right? Whatever. And she, his wife, basically 3 days after he was probably brain dead and in the hospital, she flew to China and talked to the supreme people in China. So I've said for years that he was controlled and influenced by China, right? It's easy to spot these people now, guys. Hopefully you guys are there. You're starting to see this type of stuff. We've been sharing this stuff for 6 years, or at least I have. I know Nino's been at it. Scott McKay, SG Anon. There's some good people out there sharing good information. So just do a little research on Lindsey Graham, and you're going to start to see some of the stuff. And it's funny because Nino and I were talking about people go down the rabbit hole with us. I was like, yeah, they go down the rabbit hole. They get stuck down there sometimes, and they're like calling out, Nino, Jaco, help me. I'm down the rabbit hole. I don't know how to get out of here. Like, well, follow my voice, and I'll lead you out. Watch out for that body there. That's Lindsey Graham. Don't step on him and trip over him. And Mitch McConnell. We don't know if he stay away from him. He's on the wall over there. Stay away from him because you don't know. Maybe they took him out with another Wu flu, right? So it's crazy out there, right? These knuckleheads are playing their little game behind the scenes, but we're on to them for the most part, and they know that they can't control us like they used to. Most of us, I think at this point, maybe I say most of us, is probably a small percentage, unfortunately, but everyone that's watching me at this point, most of us, right? So my audience is being squeezed. I looked at my video yesterday. I was, why are the views so low? And I do videos. If I see glitching, I'm like, I switch. They're on to me now because I've been talking about it. See, you got to be careful how you tell them how you deal with them, because they'll find another way to F with you, right? So I've been talking about how I switch my internet around, and I have other means to if they start glitching me. So I'm not seeing the glitching, but evidently the sound was all glitched, and people were like, "Oh, you're all glitched." And well, if you stayed with it, it stopped glitching, but they hammered it, or maybe they did it afterwards. I don't know. So I looked at it and it's glitched. That's why the views are down, right? But my views are down across the board anyway. They're suppressing the hell out of me, algorithm-wise and so forth. So usually my views are like the stuff I reveal. It should be hundreds of thousands of views, but it's just massively suppressed because it's a deep state controlling it, guys. Now, fortunately, we can get in here and share this information. Now, they're going to take our people out, and Lindsey Graham's cause of death has been revealed. Yeah, right. They blew up his heart, probably with a directed energy weapon or a heart attack machine, whatever. So preliminary findings indicate that U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican from South Carolina, died from an aortic dissection. Boy, dissection. Somebody came in there cut him open, caused by arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease. So arteriosclerosis, of course, is hardening of the arteries, plaque, and I guess he had it, or at least they say they had it. Who's doing the autopsy? Is that somebody that's linked to the JFK autopsy group? Probably, but the preliminary examination findings were aortic dissection due to the cardiovascular disease, and basically his aortic dissection. So basically, the aorta basically blows up, and blood can enter the tear and separate layers of the artery wall, creating a medical emergency that could quickly become fatal. So it's not pumping blood anymore because there's a hole in the wall. It's like a hose pipe that blows out, and it doesn't come out the end anymore because it's blowing out. Everybody's had a hose pipe and done that, right? And so that's what they're saying happened to him. So if that happens, oxygen get to the brain and you go bye-bye, right? So whether it was that or whether it was, some kind of compound they gave him remains to be seen that caused this. And, they have lots of ways to poison you and kill you. They tried that against me several times, but I'm super healthy. Thank God. Thank you, God. Thank you, Lifeway. And it's been very tough for them to take me out. All right. Now we're going to look at Ariel, Proletario 1 on X. He came in with a very, very interesting take on this, which I completely agree with. So it's a good read if you want to figure out, a little bit deeper. You want to go down the rabbit hole, then you want to go to Ariel's site on X. There he is right there, Ariel, right? So I've been following him for quite some time. My son turned him on to me, and I saw that he was following me. I was like, okay, cool. So we speak the same language in a lot of ways. Now he says there are only a few channels on this platform that understand what has occurred with Lindsey Graham. And he has a Patreon site, which I, of course, subscribe to. And he goes deeper in a lot of this information. So he says Zelensky's inner circle. So he was in Ukraine like a day or so ago. I think like a day ago. Even President Trump was said, yeah, Lindsey Graham, he flew back and he called me at 7:24. I think that's the time he said. And he's like, I feel a little tired. I think I'm going to, get some sleep. So I guess he was so tired, he decided to go to sleep forever, right? For the forever sleep. And so Trump said, I just talked to him like, I got a call at 1:30 in the morning or something like that, and they told me that he had passed away suddenly. Right? So he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't understand. It's like it's a mystery or whatever he said, paraphrasing his words. But it's not a mystery to us guys. And the white hats don't do this type of stuff. This is absolutely a black hat operation. So he goes on to talk about Zelensky's inner circle plus the old oligarchs. So he's there in Ukraine looking at because there's a big war that's going on with drones right now. So both sides are like trying to destroy each other's infrastructure for oil and fuel. So gasoline, places where stations and so forth are getting hundreds and hundreds of gasoline stations throughout Ukraine now are being blown up, especially along the front where Russia and Ukraine are duking it out. And Russia is just constantly moving forward, constantly taking down more and more of Ukrainian soil as every day goes by now. 1,000-mile front, and they're just like hammering away at Ukraine. So they tried to go after their oil. Ukraine did. So where do they get the drones? They get the drones from, I guess, us now, because Lindsey Graham was there. He went to the place where we're shipping the parts so they can put them together. And that plant just got hit right after Lindsey Graham was there. So maybe they're watching. And so they did like this televised, show that, we're helping Ukraine. And then they blew that factory up. So there's no more drones being made there. Right. And who knows, maybe Ukraine or the deep state thought that maybe Lindsey Graham had some, brought that on. Who knows? But anyway, and that's why they took him out. Because I think there's no question in my mind that they took him out, and McConnell and others. And we're going to talk about that. So, good guys. They take out the good guys too. Of course, they take out the good guys who tried to take me out. And we know we had our buddy Nino, just he's talking about on our show that all these helicopters are flying around. I've had a lot of helicopters flying around here too. I've had helicopters fly alongside me, and my heart seized up, and I was able to resist that. But they have their ways, they have their means. Some of us can resist, and Nino said there was helicopters flying around his house a lot, and then his heart seizes up and he falls down unconscious, and he goes to the hospital. So prayers for Nino too. All right, so so all of us are under threat by these people. Elements inside State Department and the permanent bureaucracy who run the Ukraine file. They prefer controllable assets. Graham was getting erratic, health rumors swirling for months. A fast-acting agent, advanced biotoxin or engineered pathogen, fragment, plausible deniability, natural illness. Now, I think because of the suddenness of this. Now, Alex Jones says that Graham was all puffy. It's like, but he says so is President Trump, and Alex Jones is a Trump hater now, so that's probably why he's going to disappear. But I saw all the people that are commenting on Graham. I'm like, I haven't looked at Alex Jones in a while. I'll hold my nose and look, and of course he had to throw in Trump. Being swollen too. I don't see that, but whatever, Alex. Good luck out there. I don't think you're going to last much longer, but anyway, Graham, is gone. So Ariel says, I've seen the same signatures on 3 other congressional sudden illnesses. So the same thing happened to Mitch. So Mitch, had a sudden, problem with his heart. It's probably the same thing, guys. It's probably that heart attack machine, and it comes in and blows up the heart, right? That's kind of what it felt. My heart was getting ready to explode, and, I have exceptionally good control of my body. So fortunately, I was able to resist that. And they tried it over and over and over again. And then I finally got off this one section of the Pacific Crest Trail where I was on a ledge that if I did die, I would have fallen. I would have fallen in a ravine, and no one would have found me. No one would have known it. They were like, well, there's got to, because there's so many missing people every year on the Pacific Crest Trail, right? And there's lots of different ways they take them, of course. But anyway, I got to the point where I could get off that ledge, and I hightailed it into this wooded area because the helicopter would go back and forth, making sure there was no one could see how I was being attacked by this helicopter that had no markings, no lights, and blacked out windows. So anyway, it looked for me. It was hovering around me and so forth. It went back in the woods where I was because it figured that's probably where I ran. It couldn't find me because I went invisible. Right. I'm a Navy SEAL. Yeah, still. Right. So it could find me, and then it flew away, and then I continued on my way. No longer on the trail in the back wooded area along the trail, but and then I camped out that night and so forth. And I got other stories about that. So crazy times. We're starting to see more of this. Graham was tied to the same South Carolina to Wall Street networks that overlap the military industrial players. Lockheed, Raytheon, contractors who've made billions on Ukraine. We know that. That's why this war continues on. That's why President Trump can't get a peace deal. Really the biggest reason is because there's Nazis there, NATO Nazis, and they're being funded by NATO Nazis. And Russia is fighting for its existence. And that's why they're continuing to fight. And they're like, yeah, we'll make a peace agreement. But really, Russia wants to take down all of Ukraine and make sure these Nazis never had an influence ever again. And I don't know, maybe they'll probably go into Poland too, because that's where they have the concentration camps during World War II. And they weren't just exterminating Jews in those concentration camps in Poland. They were also, killing everybody that was a problem for the deep state, right? Which was Nazi Germany at that time, or a puppet of the deep state was Nazi Germany. Of course, Italy. A lot of the drones that are being made are made by Italy, right? That are being used by Ukraine, and also Japan. So Japan, of course, we've had some problems with Japan over the years, but I think for the most part, Japan is not a problem, but we'll see. We'll see if Japan is going to be wrong. Japan might be like it was in the 2000, the first to go in the stock market crash. So watch the Far East. I'm looking at the Far East with all these attacks that are going on in Iran right now. In the Far East, Asian, looks good. Of course, China's getting hit by a lot of typhoons, right? Wow, how about that? And of course, Japan, I guess if they get out of line, they get an earthquake. And they just recently had one of their prime ministers, a former prime minister, was assassinated on the streets. So if they get out of line, they have ways to remind them, who's really in charge. So that's what we're seeing right now. So do you really believe Lindsey Graham inspecting that drone factory in Ukraine was going to end well for him in general? Do you believe that when McCain and Graham took that photo together in Ukraine, that they were both committing treason? Yes. That's why McCain, remember Trump said no name, right? He wouldn't even mention him. And he wouldn't say his name. And then he got the wrinkly coffin, just like Daddy Bush, George W. And George H.W. Got the wrinkly, flag too. And he was part of the JFK assassination. He was the head of the assassin teams that killed him, right? So do you honestly believe or think that Donald Trump didn't know about Graham's under the table dealings with Ukraine? When you see that wrinkle flag for McCain, right? They knew, and he does know. Although he says, President Trump, he's such a comedian to me because I know the bigger picture. He's like, that Lindsey was like family. Yeah. Oh my God. So when Trump was running the first time, he was running against Lindsey. He was one of the people he was running against. And President Trump basically dropped Lindsey's phone number so that people could call him and give him shit about being an asshole. And so Lindsey was so pissed off about that, he put his phone and he said, "This is what I feel about Trump." And he took his golf club and slammed his phone. Right. So of course, when Trump got in office, they're all buddies. And, Lindsey's basically, he goes where everybody else goes. All right. So he's like, he buddied up to Trump. And then when Trump's out, he's like, "Well, I'm not on the Trump train anymore." And then when Trump came back, he's like, "Hey, Trump, yay." It's like, it's such a knucklehead. All right. These people that think they're going to get away with this shit. All right. So, Lindsey, do not get me wrong. Lindsey Graham voted for Donald Trump on key things that kept POTUS happy. But please do not mistake that with being clean. No, he was not clean by any stretch of the imagination, like I've been putting out. I've been putting this out for a while. All right. So they killed him. They killed him because he got out of control. They thought he was going to be. So here it is right here. Graham shaking hands while pushing that bill. Basically, Zelensky's inner circle, the old oligarch remnants of Russia. Kolomoisky network remnants, Burisma-style energy players. They've lost patience with Washington hawks. So you're going to see more of this. You're going to see more deep state players within the political arena have sudden deaths, right? And that's one of two reasons, because they're not able to get anything out of them anymore, like they couldn't get anything more from Graham, and or they're seeing them as a potential threat to reveal who their puppet masters are. All right. So this is the stuff we're going to continue to see going forward, guys. And it's going to heat up. We've seen 2 Republicans now within, well, if you take the time where McConnell's been in the hospital, it's a few weeks before they took out another one. But, before I brought it up, right? I brought it up and I was like, where is McConnell? He's been in the hospital for a couple of weeks. We haven't heard from him. And then we get Laura Loomer right after I put that out. She jumps on that. And she's he's brain dead. And I think I just saw today that he made a comment. And what else did I say? If he comes back out, it's the drone. It's the drone McConnell, right? Or yeah. Or the not drone, but the what when you make another person, it's like the what do you call that? The God, I can't think of the name. Anyway, they make a double of you, and they do it with your genetics or whatever. Clone. Thank you, Tara. Clone. Everybody's saying clone. So everybody, Diana, yeah, clone. So help Mike's brain. Right. So they've hit me with directed energy weapons a lot. It sucks. Clown. Yes, a clown 2.0. So again, just like we're seeing with the deep state puppet in Iran, the number 2, the little boy, his father was blown up. A little boy was with him, at least not a little boy. Of course, he's like 40 or whatever. And so I guess rumors are they had his leg blown off, and he was mutilated, probably dead. And so, but he's making comments, kind of like clown 2.0 McConnell is starting to make comments as if he comes back out, they finally got the clone on board. So you start to see him, guys. If you see McConnell come out again, that's a clone. Now, obviously, like we saw with Biden, who was taken out by the good guys. It's like he went to, I guess, pulled him out. And was that because he was doing a lot of very bad things? Of course. So like we've heard from lots of people out there where they're talking about, people that, are in this organization, they use them and they abuse them and they use their clones or whatever, like they did with Biden. Now, Biden, killed was part of having his wife and his daughter killed in an accident. So they have to do a sacrifice. And, once they do a sacrifice, then they can go the next level up. Now, some of them, will do they'll have their child do transgender, kind of like what Cher did with her daughter, right? Her daughter became a boy. So they do that, transgender thing, or they do a sacrifice. The ones that don't want to do a sacrifice, they do a transgender with the child, right? And that's some of the things that we're seeing, and we're starting to learn about. So as time goes on, we start to see their pattern. We start to call them out on it. And is that because Lucifer is, as we see with the Statue of Liberty, both sexes, right? So, that might be why. Statue of Liberty. Yeah, that's a funny one. But anyway, you think Cher's a dude? Maybe. It's possible. I mean, was her daughter given to her? She never... Because did we ever see her pregnant? Is there any pictures of her pregnant? Kind of like Michelle Obama. They had like a little pictures of him with a belly. But those pictures can be taken later, and I'm sure that's what happened with that one. Obviously, because that is not a woman, as we know. Just look at the package. Every time that thing dances, you can say a thing like, "It's got a big one. Got a big one in the pants." Yep. So it's hard not to no Prego pics. No Prego pics of Cher. How about that? Cher told her mom, "I am a rich man." So, and she's part of the deep state. She's part of the sacrifice team and all that kind of stuff too. Photoshop. Yep. Definitely fabulous spoils. All right, so we're going to continue to see this stuff. Craig Lund is obviously helping us see a lot of this stuff. I'm helping you see a lot of this stuff. Nino, Scott, we're helping you guys understand. It's about money, and the deep state likes the money, and they don't want us to have any. All right, they don't want us to be creative. They want to control everything, because we get creative and we build something good, like a car that doesn't need oil or gas or anything like that, and those people die, right? So, and then, or they're like, buy them out. We're going to buy that, and we're going to build that, and you're going to make a lot of money on that. So they buy it, and then time goes by. Well, why aren't you building it? Yeah, just go home and relax. We'll get back to you. And then they end up suicided. So that's what we've seen for quite some time. They want all the control. They want all the power. Imagine all of the technology that exists out there. The secret space program has to be secret because the deep state, which has their own space program, they've been trying to kill everybody off that basically reveals any of that or talks even remotely about that. Kind of like what happened with me. I just remotely said, yeah, that guy that's said he was in Area 51, he's legit. They're trying to Bill Brock Raider. So they're trying to completely crush his back and say that he's a pedophile and all that stuff. That's that's what they do. If you are, they can easily control you or destroy you, control you or destroy you, or kill you. And if they can't, control you and get what they want out of you, they're going to kill you. Iran. Why Iran? Well, why not Iran? Because they make a lot of money from that oil. Iran money laundering through the Federal Reserve in New York. Yes. So let's look at this. This is a good one. Now, recently, Mamdani, where's Mamdani at? He's in New York City, isn't he? Where's the Federal Reserve? New York City. So Iran has been involved in money laundering activities that include using foreign banks to process transactions through the U.S. financial system, including the Federal Reserve in New York. This has raised significant concerns. Yeah, that's treasonous, right? So everybody in the Federal Reserve should be tried for treason and executed. All right, Iran has engaged in extensive money laundering activities, particularly through foreign banks. And how does the Federal Reserve get its money? Through the IRS, stealing the money from us. Why do we have a revolutionary war? Because of unfair taxation without representation. So they're taking our money, and without representing us correctly, they're using that money to fund these wars and so forth. This is how it goes. Shadow banking networks, use of foreign banks, sanctions evasions, risk to national security. The facilitation of these transactions poses a threat to national security, U.S. national security, by allowing Iran to fund its military and nuclear programs. Hello. So our own Federal Reserve is helping Iran build nukes to control us in the world. What should happen to the Federal Reserve? It's pretty clear to me. The Federal Reserve proposes requiring banks to establish effective anti-money. So, look, we're trying to make this right by making sure that banks, other banks, well, don't you control all the banks? Yes, but they're blaming it on the other banks, the little guys, right? too big to fail or little guys, whatever. Anyway, this is the way these clowns work, guys. It's becoming very obvious. We're starting to call all this out. IRS needs to go away. Federal Reserve needs to go away. President Trump has said this, right? He said this. He's working on it. And when that happens remains to be seen. So U.S. launches new strikes on Iran after Strait of Hormuz attack. And they went after one of our bases in Kuwait and did significant damage. So let's listen to a little bit of this.
War with Iran as U.S. forces launched another attack on Iran early today after the country again hit a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. forces hit about 140 military sites in Iran, including drone sites, ammunition storage, and surveillance locations.
All right, so Iran's getting hammered, and it's not affecting the stock market, right? The stock markets of the world are like, oh, whatever. We're over it. We need to make money. We can't keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. Right. So that's probably what we're going to see. So Iran just smashed a key U.S. base in Kuwait, and satellites are revealing the damage. Whose satellite is that? Is that a CIA satellite? All right. All right. So here's the damage to this U.S. base. Fortunately, no U.S. personnel were injured. But as you guys can see, extensive damage to this base, and this causes problems for. It's a strategic hub in the region. It's a deployment center, operations across Western Asia, and the base plays a central role in moving forces, equipment, and supplies, while also supporting aviation, artillery, and armored units. So in return, we are absolutely hammering Iran right now, and it's like, oh, okay, you want to play that game? All right. Now we're going to really hammer you. So that's what we got going on. I think within, I don't know, 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, we could see the end of this. If this rate of hammering continues, which I think it possibly will. There's a lot of naysayers out there. It's like the U.S. doesn't have any more missiles or bombs. They could do this for very long. That's bullshit. Right? I've seen them. There are a lot of them. All right, we got a lot. All right, so and they use that time to make sure the oil was being sent around the world, so it wouldn't crush the economies out there. And now. They used that time to build up all the munitions, and now they're being used. Right? So, and they're going to be used a lot. Yes, rods of God, use them. And of course, President Trump said, "If you kill me, then I'm going to kill you back." Right? Even though I'm dead, there's going to be thousands of missiles that are going to come and get you. Right? So it's on, guys. It's totally on. And I say, let's go ahead and hammer the hell out of them before they kill you. How about that? If they're threatening to kill you, which you're on the kill list, you're at the top of the kill list. Lindsey Graham was all the way at the bottom, and they killed him, right? So are they going to work their way through the kill list? Is the deep state, because Iran's a deep state, is the deep state going to work through the kill list? Yeah, I think there's a possibility of that. Now, like we talked about with Lindsey, they kill good guys too. And one of those good guys, I believe they killed was Scott Bennett, right? Because they have ways to infect you. And Scott Bennett died of pancreatic cancer. And usually when you start to notice, so in one of my chats, somebody contacted me and said, I saw Bennett at an event, and I saw that he had yellow, jaundice-looking eyes, and I warned him that he might have pancreatic cancer. And I guess that's when Scott went to get it checked out, and he did. And once you have pancreatic cancer, if you catch it in the early stages, which is virtually impossible, it's one of the biggest killers out there because you can't catch it early enough. And once it's in, it's basically spread throughout your body. Now, Juan O'Savin was involved in taking him to a treatment center in Hawaii, but it was unfortunately too late, and we lost our buddy Scott Bennett. So another truther out there. Now, we know that Scott was going to Russia. Of course, the deep state probably did not like that. And just like they took out, a baddie, Graham, they took out a goodie, and that was Scott Bennett. So very sad when he died, but I felt right away, and I've never said this before, that it was they killed him. The deep state killed him. All right, and that's my thoughts on that. Unfortunately, so he did a lot of shows on RT. He was on my show a couple times a week. Great guy. So American political commentator, if you don't know him, Scott Bennett, has died of pancreatic cancer at age 53, former U.S. Army psychological warfare officer. Now, he basically figured out who was funding terrorists, and he told which banks in the U.S. were doing that, and for, doing his mission, doing his job as a Army officer, he was thrown in jail. Obama threw him in jail. So he went to jail for disclosing who was funding terrorists. How about that? Right? He's lucky that he, I guess, lived a little bit longer, but I guess God had a plan for him. Thank you, God. All right. Wish you'd kept him a little bit longer here. But anyway, he wrote some books, about all that experience. He finally got out. Now, he also, did a lot of other things. He went to also Iran and said the Iranian people were very peaceful. They did not like their government, which we know now, of course, and they wanted to get rid of their government, but they had no recourse for that. So he had no fear. He was all over the place, right? But the deep state took him out. I think it's pretty clear. All right. So pancreatic cancer it's a tough one. And if you discover you have pancreatic cancer early enough, they can treat it and you can survive. But if it's later, almost no one survives. And he did not. So I think they get some uranium in him somehow. And that basically is what took him out. All right. So he disclosed who was doing funding the terrorist, and Obama threw him in jail. Now, why didn't the Army back him up? Because it's corrupt too. Hello, it's corrupted too. Now, Mamdani is Muslim, yes, and so Iran, Muslim, extremist, yes. All right. Of course, I've been around lots of Muslims. They're beautiful people. 97% of them or more. And it's just, I've said this for decades, just a few percentage of them, just like the deep state here, just a few percentage of them control the rest of them, right? For the most part. Now, Mamdani is siding with the enemy. Another treasonous boy, puppet boy of the deep state. Mamdani officials planned meeting with Iran envoy, and it was shut down by the State Department. So we have a good State Department now, right? And so I was around the State Department during the time of Hillary. Of course, there's good people in the State Department, just like good people in the CIA and FBI, but there's also bad people. And a lot of times these bad people control a lot of stuff, right? And so Commissioner Anna Maria Arkila, I guess so we'll call it Arkila, had scheduled a sit-down with the Iranian envoy Iravana. Zoran Mamdani avoids direct answer about whether Iran is better off without the Ayatollah, right? Because he's a puppet boy of the deep state, and he knows he gets out of line, he'll die, or they'll take him out of power. So a senior official in New York City, Mayor Zoran Mamdani's administration planned to meet with Iran's ambassador to the United Nations before the State Department reportedly intervened, and the meeting was canceled. All right. So, we got a good State Department now with